Ryan here with Dark Rangers Inc. And as you guys know, I've been on an absolute mission to put together some great brands for every area of the rig so that we have high quality products, great customer service, and a good value from each of the companies that we're working with. Now, as we know, good value doesn't always mean the lowest cost. It just means you're getting the most for your money. But every once in a while, we do get the opportunity to combine the high quality, the great customer service, and the lowest cost. And that's what we have here with the Agma 26MC. And yes, in this case, MC means monochrome. Why? Because that makes way more sense. I actually made a parody video last year about thinking that I ordered the 26MC and thinking I was getting the monochrome, only to realize that it was color. It was a joke. But this is the model that really is going to replicate the results of the 2600, or if this were the 268 and not the 600, the QHY version of the 268M. It comes with a 7 by 36 millimeter unmounted filter wheel, and that's really where this separates itself and is going to allow you to save a lot of money. The filter wheel itself is only $220, and 7 by 36 millimeter filters are typically about 25 to 35% cheaper than the 2-inch mounted versions. So a lot of you guys are totally willing to pay the $2,000 for the camera because after all, the color versions aren't much cheaper, but it's really those ancillary products that add up and really deter a lot of folks from going monochrome. So not only are you gonna save a couple $100s on the electronic filter wheel, the off-axis guider, which frankly, this is one of my best designed off-axis guiders that I've used thus far. It doesn't use the thumb screw, it uses direct screw through everything, and this actually will work with the ZWO electronic filter wheel to get you 55 millimeters of backspace. And just to show how awesome Juan is to work with, he's a super humble guy, and his goal is really to get us the best astrophotography product for the money as humanly possible. His margins are razor thin. He actually, on top of that, was willing to take some immediate feedback and make an M54 adapter for this. So now you can get it to work with M48 or M54, and I know the ZWO M48 option does not have that capability. You've got to do a lot of things with the tilt plate, buy an M54, take it off of the camera, put it on the front. It's kind of a disaster. With this one, boom, I asked for it, and a week later on my doorstep, M54. So now I bolt this right to my 140 SVX from Stellarvue. And if you saw the review of that scope, you've actually already seen images taken with this camera. Now, some other really cool features, it obviously does have the USB hub like you're used to, and then it has indicator lights, which is really nice, so you know kind of what's going on. It has a great cooling system, and then it does, like the QHY version, have some different modes. So it has ultra mode, it's got a high full well capacity mode, testing all the way up to 100,000, and then it has a low and high conversion gain mode. So you get actually more features and functionality than the ZWO camera at a total cost when you include the filters, off-axis guider, and the electronic filter wheel. That's gonna be anywhere from about $600 to $1,000 cheaper than the package that I went with when I first jumped into monochrome. And I'm using the 678M. This is a monochrome guide camera. It's going to be about $100 cheaper than the 174, so you're saving even more money. And like I said, the OAG is actually really nice. It has a really nice barrel adjuster. It's got all the lockouts. And I'll show you really quickly how I kind of put it all together, and then we'll dive into some of the results. But first, as you can see, we are outside. I have created a little bit of an outdoor studio for the summer, so I'll give you a quick tour, and then we'll go into how you put all of this together. So first of all, we've got this 7-foot standing desk that we have covered and it's just overflow. That is going to be the future inside studio desk. It's all ready to go. And then we have a homemade here, just kind of a wood structure that we've got put together. It actually works really well. And then the butcher board actually had this cardboard cover, so I'm just leaving it on there for now. Gives a little cushion and protection. Underneath, we've got some of our camping stuff, some of my meals that I use, and then this new Plano tackle box that I'm using. It's got a magnetic working zone up top, which is really nice. And then on the desk, I've got, my scale, precision electronic screwdriver, heavy duty one, a couple random tools, and of course the smoking accoutrement. Got a couple extra GoPros if we need some different angles. Secondary color light, and then the main light. Where the box garden was, we've now got basically a Pelican or hard case garden. This is all the miscellaneous camping stuff. I use this for the mount. That's the Vault V600. It's a really good size for that. Pelican 1615 Air, and then the SKB for the 140. I've got a kind of a medium-sized Pelican for my cameras, and then the one that the 26M came in that we'll go over in a little bit. And then just, you know, a basic little shelf structure. This houses all of these boxes that I'm starting to fill up. You can fit 7 of them in that tackle box, and I can just show you really quickly how well this can keep you organized. For example, this is all just different spacers and little miscellaneous parts, and I've got about 4 of these full. The yellow one down at the bottom here actually has lids for every single cover, so the whole thing is filled with different size, like M3, M4, M5, M6 screws. Some miscellaneous tools and stuff. My 2 big cable organizer bags that are completely stuffed, ready to go camping. Some cleaning supplies. Got the little air blaster, my koala cleaning fluid, some plenty of gloves, and then that little GoPro zip up is full of koala wipes, and then of course my 2 batteries. So we have our old DeWalt unboxing table. It's still available as a secondary or tertiary option, and then right now we've got the 260 on the sideline, and then of course a little tripod here, and we can just go ahead and angle down if we want to do, you know, some build videos or how to. All right, we won't do a full install, but we'll do a quick one. When you're attaching the electronic filter wheel to the camera itself, you're gonna need at least one of the filter slots empty because there's 4 screws, and you're gonna put 2 in, move the wheel, and put the other 2 in. A good tip is to go ahead and just drop the screws in ahead of time, at least on the one side. That way you don't drop it and hit your sensor, and wear gloves. Use protection, guys. So we're gonna use these 4 corresponding holes, and once we get the first one going, he does include a nice little precision screwdriver, which is nice. But we're gonna use this electronic one, so he does give you a nice little precision one. So those aren't in like all the way tight, but we're gonna go over to the other side. And those come in this little bag here that has 3 different sizes on it. The other screws that were in there, the black screws, are sitting right over here. It looks like there's 4 replacement screws for these center ones, and then he has a bunch of screws for if you had unmounted filters, it looks like, as well. So we're gonna put the 4th and final screw, and now I'll give them a little bit of a tighten. Guys, do not over tighten in photography. This is designed to not give a lot of pressure. And then I'm gonna take my blower, make sure I get the sensor. I did go ahead and take a fresh koala microfiber and clean the sensor and the filters before doing this. And then I'm gonna go ahead, I did leave all of the screws in their spots, and I'm gonna set this down here. And then we are just going to go ahead and screw all of the exterior screws in one at a time. The easiest thing to do is basically just to loosen them all and then lift the whole plate up. That way they all stay in place and you don't lose them. And again, with these, you want them really just until the point where it's starting to give resistance, and then stop. Okay. And then Juan was nice enough to go ahead and make an M54 adapter for me. I've decided to go all M54 on everything to allow as much of the light to go through as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap this out. This is the side that is gonna go to my telescope. Basically, the flat face of the prism is what is going to be facing the front of the scope. So think about it, what I think of is if I'm looking down the front of my scope, I wanna see a flat screen TV. That's the way I remember it. Or you could just actually look at the science behind the prism and realize that right angle has to be in back to kick the light up this tube right here and ultimately get to your camera. Okay, we can put these 4 screws in. before we put that plate on, and it might make it a little easier to get to. So I'm taking these now that have more of a hex head, and I am putting these in place to attach. I really like this versus any kind of thumb screw. I know on the Asker one, it had the thumb screw, and I did say that it was okay. I have found that it starts to get loose over time, so I do kind of need to retract that a little bit. But the screw in design is super solid. It is obviously not going to go anywhere. Okay, and now I'm gonna take the M54 plate, and if you're wondering which way is out, you're gonna want the recessed area, obviously, for those screws to go into. And then I'm just gonna take the same ones that came out of the M48 attachment. Now, if you have M48, that's fine. It will work just fine with apsc, but I've just got all my scopes set up for M54 just to let as much light through so that if we do go to a full frame setup, we're not robbing it of any of the incoming light. So going to want to take this little screw, this grub screw out of the top, and we are going to carefully put that in this little hole here, and that's what's ultimately gonna act as the stop for the mirror. So how do I do the mirror? Typically, I have it, I don't know if the angle's good, but hopefully it is. Typically, I have it so just the full mirror is exposed. This is going down into a much smaller, so there's no way that this is gonna get in the way, even with the full prism exposed. So that's another good reason to go with M54. It gives you more room all the way around the sensor. So if you look down there, you can see there is no way that that mirror is gonna get in front of the sensor, but it's also fully exposed, so it is going to absolutely pick up plenty of light and then also not get in the way. And then this focuser is actually really nice. So it has the brass locking knob, and it is actually super smooth. There's a locking knob for the camera as well. So basically I just try to line up rectangle with the rectangle so that it is covering basically the entire hole. I'm going to snug that down. And then once I get my focus fine-tuned, I will snug down the brass one as well. It does come with a USB 3.0, so I can just pop that right into the top and then plug it into the back of the camera if I want, because it does have the USB hub as well as the indication lights. And then it does have an ST4 cable, which we're not going to need. Now, it does also have a bunch of other spacers and adapters, should you need them, of all different sizes. You can get the specs on the website. And then it does have an additional spacer size for the front of the camera as well. So comes with a lot of nice accessories, probably takes about 10 minutes to set up. So there we go, we have a completely bulletproof setup. I actually do kind of like the black and gold. I think this will look really cool with the gold knobs on the Feather Touch focuser, and we're all set. All right, now that we've gone over kind of the basics and the overview of the company, as well as how to put it all together and just a high level overview, let's dive into a little bit of the details. In full transparency, this really is a Toptech camera. So we know from Quiv and other YouTubers that Toptech is a pretty reliable camera company. They're all kind of made in the same part of the world, and it is using the Sony IMX571 sensor that comes in so many versions of this camera. There's 5 or 6 versions out there, and they all really look the same. I have been using this in the QHY format and the ZWO format, and so I've been staring at these 3.7 micron monochrome pixels for the better part of several years now, and there really isn't anything super remarkable here, and that's really all I was hoping for. I really just wanted to basically see the same results that I was used to, make sure the cooling system worked, make sure that it integrated well with Nina, which it does, now with the latest update of PHD2 that came out on April 21st. If you do download that version, you can use the native Agma drivers for the guiding, and then if not, you can just use the ASCOM drivers, which still work just fine. And then Nina does find this and set up the ASCOM drivers for the camera very well. It integrates just as easily as any other camera, and like I said, there are a couple different modes that you can try out and see what works best for you. If you do want to see more of the data that this has produced, like I said, check out the 140 video. Again, I'm not going to go super in detail here. This is the Crescent Nebula in HA. It's about 2.5 hours, and like I said, it just looks very characteristic to what I'm used to. I haven't done any edits to this. This is just kind of a screenshot. If you want to see a galaxy, here we have the M101 luminance kind of zoomed in. There's kind of the full size version. Again, you know, just kind of the results that we would expect out of the camera. Here is the sulfur data with some more stars for the Butterfly Nebula. And then we have the HA data as well. I can overlay a couple of the finished images as well, but essentially what I was looking for, does it spec up to every other version of this camera that I've used? These only have a couple hours per file here, so not a ton of integration. The luminance from M101 did have more time, but I've been looking at the subframes coming in on these cameras now for many months, and so I didn't see anything really different. It performed exactly the way that I expected it to, and frankly, that is really all I wanted it to do at this point. So if you are somebody that's looking to go into monochrome, hopefully this will make it a little bit more appealing from a cost standpoint. I think that this is a better option, and for folks that know they're probably never going to go past the apsc size sensor, because quite frankly, it is a pretty good size sensor for astro. Full frame is definitely not a necessity. As long as you've never used it and don't know what you're missing, it is a good place to go ahead and stop and really get the best of both worlds between value and sensor size, and of course the 16-bit quality that we're used to from the Sony sensor. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I've had a great time working with Juan thus far. He's been very attentive to any questions that I have. He's always quick to respond, and I think that he's definitely somebody that will be a good partner to the channel. I know that we can trust him to do what's right by you guys, and to have an actual phone number that you can call rather than an email, and somebody that's going to be responsive in either way is really nice to know. It just makes purchasing it a lot easier for me, knowing that I'm going to have some customer service to stand behind it, as well as somebody who's really passionate about bringing the value and keeping the cost as low as humanly possible. So let's support a business like Agma so that it can grow, and maybe that can be the new norm. We can dedicate our dollars that we vote with every time we buy something to companies that really have us in mind, and not just maximizing profits and spending more of their time on marketing and less of their time on quality control and customer service. So hopefully this is helpful. I am getting this out a little earlier to you guys this week because I am going to go on a dark sky trip Friday, so I've been hustling really hard. I've got the 102 coming today, so I'm going to have to set all of that up, and then I have to pack, get everything ready, and so I wanted to get this out as well, so I kept up on my weekly pace. If you are new to the channel, I am on a race for 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. This is kind of the anniversary month, marking 1 year since starting the channel, so please hit that subscribe button. If you're still watching, you like the content, and we've got more coming out every single week. And if you're a member of the channel or our community, thank you so much for your continued support. And guys, until the next one, as always, clear skies.